Thank you very much for joining me. I'm going to start by congratulating you on making the shortlist for the Nigeria Prize for Literature. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. I'm very happy anytime you get. I've been winning awards in the US, but I think anytime you get awards from your home country, there's something very. It feels like you're home. It feels like you've been seen from home, which it's a good feeling.
Okay. The next question I was going to ask you was that you are not new to winning awards and getting recognition. Can you tell us some of the recognitions and awards you've won in the past?
This year, just because the book, it's coming out in the US under a different title, but with all the different poems also added to it. And the manuscript itself won the Poetry Society of America as Alice Fedi Kasnagola Award. I hope I'm pronouncing that well, which is one of the biggest awards for unpublished manuscripts in the US. And then I won the Brunel, and I was shortlisted for the Lambda, and a couple of other awards. So.
Okay, so for record purpose, we are talking about your book, Nomad. Nomad
yes.
is the book nominated. Nomad is the book shortlisted for for the Literature Prize. The book has been described as having a fresh language and a nostalgic element with the theme of exile and displacement. Is that what it is about?
Yeah, I think that's basically, they got the description well. Yeah.
So what inspired that? You live outside Nigeria.
I left home for the first time officially. I've left home before, where it's like through the whole route when you want to leave Nigeria. Because I grew up in Benin. A lot of people, when they leave home in Benin, a lot of guys, when you're traveling out of the country, you go through the desert route. And I tried that. It didn't work out for me. I came back. But the first time I left through the other side of the country was in 2018. And it was different. I knew I was not coming back, or I knew if I had come back to the country, I was not going to stay. And so I think at that moment I started seeing things with a different kind of like tunnel vision, so to speak, And I'm someone who's very curious about history, because I think exile, or moving, or even inhabiting a space, is not just inhabiting the present, but also inhabiting the past, and using those two things to think about what the future will be. And so when I was moving and traveling to Ghana, and then to Senegal, and then traveling just through the road along the coast of Western Africa, I think I was thinking about leaving home. I was thinking about what it means to leave home. I was also thinking about what it means to be passing through cities that have been past the part of history. So whether it's older, that's part of where a lot of enslaved people from Benin, or Dahomey, as it's known then, left. The departure of the place of no return, where a lot of them left the continent, But I was also thinking about Griot in Kanyes, which is a border town between Mali and, when you're moving from Mali to Senegal. What I was also thinking about Griot, it's just playing their music, and which is a music of history, and watching women dance to that history was something that was fascinating to me. And so I think I started writing it. I started writing it actually as just longing for home. And it just became something else, because the more you start seeing things, the more you start understanding that we're not alone in the world, and that this journey I have undertaken as a then was not new. And so I started chronicling different types of travels and different types of histories of travels, whether it's slave trade, whether it's even the Benin invasion, which it's not really talked about other than this very thing of art was stolen, but people were killed and families were moved, and a lot of things happened that's not only about the art, but most times we talk about that's the stealing of artwork. What I say about also colonial killings that was done by the British, for example, in Calabar, where a lot of the chieftains were killed and hanged to make, an example for people there to know that, hey, the British is ruling and you have no more power. So I think I was like, and those were a form of travels and form of atrocities of history. And I was trying to like chronicle that also, because I think as a young Nigerian, which history also is not being taught to us, it was fascinating to start seeing these things for the first time, or listening or hearing about it for the first time and writing about it.
Okay, so this is not just poetry, it's also history.
Yeah, it's really not just, it's poetry. I think a lot of us who are young, who have been fortunate to, I think a lot of like people who've been going to MFAs. I know Ogagai Fowodo, for example, have an MFA from Colonial. But I think for those of us who are very young now, who are living the country as young people, as writers, as poets especially, coming to the US, and there's never been a time when the US, the poetry scene in the US is as vibrant and dynamic as it is right now. And I say that to say, for example, you have poet like Fred Moten, whose poem basically speaks to theoretical concepts, whether it's in jazz, Black studies, Africana studies, but he's doing it to poetry, right? And then you have other people who, like Natasha Trenchaway, Terence Hayes, and a lot of people who are unearthing history to poetry. You know, you have Claudia Rankin, for example, who's talking about white supremacy and the oppression of Black people and how it has always been that way through poetry. So I think for us coming into the system and getting to like study poetry at this time in MFAs and having mentorship with different professors, there are ways that we bring our own different ideas. I'm someone who always loved history and what history means to me. And so there's a way in which I'm bringing it into poetry, but it's still poetry. It's just a different kind. I think that's what they mean by the language of the book, to be honest. I think it's like when they say the language is different, it's that I'm trying to bring something. Normally it's separated apart. Like normally when Nigerian poets write about history, there's always been from this very, like with social issues. Right. And I think I would give kudos at this point to Tade Guardiola, for example, because I think he was the first person to really look at history as something that could be merged into poetry with the Sahara Testament. And I think it was something that I wanted to do that was also fascinating to me. And even the next book I'm working on, for example, now it's like a 350-page epic on movements that's still also about history and stuff.
Okay, interesting. That's quite incredible. This journey, I mean, I don't know how much you know about your journey to be one of the last three, but this journey started with hundreds of books. Then at a point, the entries were long-listed to 11. It was at the point of the long listing. That was when the Cora Book Party held. Then there are now three of you. How would you, I asked you earlier that how do you feel and stuff like that, but let me rephrase my question now that how does it feel, especially knowing that from a race that started with hundreds of people, that race is now down to just three of you?
This is the funny thing. I've been having this discussion with my friends. We talk a lot about this. And I'm like, I'm happy I'm here. It says something about the work I have been doing right from when I came into the scene, which for some people is 2017. For me, I've been writing way before that, like 4 or 5 years before that. But again, it's a question of opinion. But yeah, I think it's a testament to that work. It's a testament also to the way I see the world, or the way I try to see the world. And I'm happy that way it's been recognized. But I think apart from that, I honestly never saw myself to be even on the long list or the short list. I was very surprised. I was really very surprised. Not just because of the history of the award, not really looking at young writers, but because I've always felt like I've never belonged to the scene fully. I've always felt like someone who, I have a lot of readers among young people, because I think most of my poems speak to what young people in Nigeria are going through. I've never felt like part of the scene. I've never felt as if maybe an NLNG Prize, for example, looked towards my own direction. So when the long list came, I was really surprised. I was not even checking for anything. You know, I was just doing my normal routine, and notifications as always. How you know someone is talking about you. You know, and yeah, even with the shortlist. But I think with the shortlist, there's this reckoning that start coming up in me. Especially seeing young people talk about it and see how young people are excited about it. And even a lot of the older folks, the way they're also excited about the list and about the poets on the list, made me also realize the weights that we're carrying, which is, you look at the poets we were together on the long list, Ogagai Fodo, Remy Raji, and these are people who have carried Nigerian poetry scene for decades, maybe 2-3 decades now, witnessing what's going on, trying to comment on social issues and all of that. And now it's like, okay, they're still there, they're still writing, but now it's like there's a passing on it also to people like me and people like Sadiq and Swedi and a lot of other young people. And I think there's that weight of like, okay, what do we do with this responsibility that has been given to us?
Okay. And how does it now feel to have an organization like NLNG Choice weight behind something like this?
I think it's amazing. I think you look at I think my own comments would just only be if the price can just be yearly, and even if it's like 20 or 25,000, so people can every given year be part of the process for different genres. I also think that it shows, because when you're writing in America, there's a sense of isolation. There's a sense of like you're trying to be part of us. You know, there's a sense of just being a lone poet, just you and yourself in your house and just doing things again and again. And I think with the NLNG throwing their weight behind it, and also with the Nigerian scene, literary scene, supporting it, there's a sense of family that comes with the prize, that says you're not alone. You know, and I think that's the best thing about the prize, because I mean, I cannot tell you how many numbers of American people who have like, dude, you're actually trying to sell $100 prize, $100 prize. Like, you know, it's that, like that sense of like, oh, we also have our own thing. And it's also as prestigious as any other thing in the world. And it's also as rigorous also as any other thing in the world. And it's out of the line, that's the pride. Like that's the happiness when I think about the prize. Like,